It started on a Tuesday. Barbara, a graphic designer, had been home with Amelia for 9 weeks when Saint, the family's Saint Bernard, began to change. Not dramatically, not in a way that made anyone reach for the phone immediately or say something is wrong out loud. Just quietly, the way that real problems begin, at the edge of ordinary life, in a place where nobody is paying close attention. The St. Bernard would not eat for 3 days, only watched. That was how it started. Barbara noticed it on the 3rd day. By the 5th day, Joseph had noticed it too. They talked about it over dinner while Amelia slept in the next room, and they came to a reasonable conclusion. Barbara had read about this pattern online. Resource guarding, the articles called it. It made sense. It fit the pattern. They were not careless people. They were careful, attentive parents who had read the parenting books and baby-proofed the house and knew when to call the pediatrician and when to wait. They waited. On the 8th day, the behavior escalated. What had been intermittent became constant. The St. Bernard stopped sleeping through the night. Barbara would find she's standing in the hallway at 2 a.m, not pacing, not whining, just standing, facing Amelia's door, still, waiting for something that Barbara could not identify. She told Joseph she was starting to feel uneasy. He said he understood, but that they should give it another few days. They gave it 2 more days. On the 10th night, the St. Bernard did something it had never done before, not once in the years they had owned. She pressed her entire weight against Amelia's bedroom door from the inside. When Barbara opened the door at 3 a.m., she found the animal standing over Amelia's small form, not touching, just positioned, deliberate, certain. Barbara stood in the doorway for 4 seconds. Then she turned on the light. What she saw made her reach for her phone before she had fully processed what she was looking at. The details will not be repeated here because they belong to the family and to Amelia's medical file. What matters is that emergency services arrived within 9 minutes. What matters is that the on-call physician later told Barbara, standing in a hospital corridor while monitors beeped steadily from the room behind her, that the nurse who treated Amelia said she had seen 3 cases like this in her career, and in 2 of them, nobody had listened to the animal in time. The doctor said, "One more thing." She said, "Whatever your animal was doing, it was right." The cause turned out to be bathtub water level rising unnoticed, silent, invisible to any human sense, the kind of thing that builds without announcement and resolves without mercy if nothing intervenes. The St. Bernard had been detecting it, not learning it, not being trained for it. Simply detecting it, the way animals detect things that exist beneath the threshold of human awareness, in the chemical signature of breath, in the micro-vibrations of a building, in the frequencies of air that carry information we have given up the ability to read. Barbara sat in the hospital for 6 hours. She sat with her hands in her lap and thought about the 9 days she had watched the St. Bernard behave strangely and had found a reasonable explanation every single time. She thought about Barbara had read about this pattern online. Resource guarding, the articles called it. She thought about how certain she had been. She had been wrong. Joseph arrived at the hospital at 4 a.m. They didn't talk much. They sat together in the corridor and watched the clock and waited for the physician to come back out and give them news they could carry home. The news was good. Amelia recovered fully. The treatment was straightforward once the cause was identified. The attending pediatrician used the word fortunate twice in a single sentence, which is not something physicians do unless they mean it. When they brought Amelia home 3 days later, the St. Bernard was waiting at the front door. Not excited, not performative, just there in the way that a thing is there when it has been waiting because it knew to wait. Barbara knelt on the floor. She put her arms around the animal's neck. She didn't say anything out loud. Some things don't need to be said. The St. Bernard has slept in Amelia's room every night since. Barbara checks in each morning and finds them in the same configuration, the animal positioned at the foot of the small bed, watching the door, doing what animals do when they have accepted the job of watching over someone who cannot watch over themselves. If you have ever dismissed a pet's strange behavior as anxiety or jealousy or stress, stop. Watch it more carefully. Ask a different question. The answer you find might be one you needed a long time before you thought to look for it. The veterinarian who examined the animal afterward said something the family did not expect. She said the behavior they had described, the persistence, the positioning, the refusal to stand down, was not random and not anxiety. She said animals operating in protective mode show a specific physiological signature that she had learned to recognize over 20 years of practice. She said, "This animal made a decision. It chose to stay. Not every animal does." The family drove home in near silence. The animal lay in the back seat. When they pulled into the driveway, it was the first one to the front door.